Welcome to It's No Secret, a podcast for Kiwis who want their money questions answered.
Ready, steady, go.
This podcast will answer the money questions you may or may not have on your mind. We'll talk to real Kiwis and share truths about our own financial lives.
Both the successes and the failures. Because the truth is, there is no secret to achieving financial freedom.
Hello and welcome to It's No Secret. I'm Christine and today we're back with a Money Moments episode where we chat to real Kiwis about their experiences with money. Today I'm joined by Dean Anderson, Kernel founder and chief executive. Now, Dean has already been on the podcast once before, where he shared everything from how his relationship with money has evolved over time to how he raised capital to fund, launch and grow Kernel, a digital platform to manage your wealth. So today he's back with a bit of an update and to chat all things Kernel. If you haven't already listened to our first Money Moments episode with Dean, I'd highly recommend doing so. So hit pause now and go back and search It's No Secret Money Moments with Dean Anderson through your favourite podcast player or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Now, let's jump in. Hi Dean, welcome to the podcast. It's been about 2 years since you've been on the podcast. It's very exciting to have you back. I would imagine that a lot has changed in the last 2 years, which, well, it definitely has at Kernel, so we'll get into that soon. But first, keen to understand and hear what has changed for you personally and financially.
Yeah, so obviously Kernel has been the dominant focus for the last 5 years, coming up birthday this month. And that's included the last couple of years. But outside of that, probably the biggest, most recent sort of personal money change has been purchasing a new build home. So
Exciting, congrats.
Yeah, progress, hopefully. Hasn't been completed yet, so you've got to be careful what you say with development at this stage. So yeah, obviously, folks have been Kernel, and I've been renting in Auckland for about 7 years, so we've finally taken a leap and purchased a townhouse that's been built at the moment, and so hopefully we'll be in for summer.
Nice. And so what was the driver of that, of finally jumping from renting to buying?
It's similar sort of lifestyle to what we've got. Like I think what we've got attracted to was being able to have our own space that offers a lot of the lifestyle benefits we like from where we are renting, which is sort of low maintenance, lock and leave type setup, but it gives us our own spot that we can sort of make a bit more homely. You know, we've been working pretty hard, both of us, for a number of years, and now it's a chance to sort of have a little bit more of a home environment rather than the rental that we've been in for 6 years.
Yeah, fair enough. And so why did you buy off the plans? Or how did you get to that decision? Is it for the ease? You just said that, but also, you know. Yeah,
definitely attracted to, I think there's a lot of risk and lesson. I've had property before, obviously, as people know, like I've bought and I've renovated, but it's always been existing, typically older homes, never been through the building process. And so, that was a lot of work to go through. I was very, very conscious of doing a lot of due diligence on that. Bluntly, the new build benefit was the deposits. You could sign up with a 10% deposit to a new build versus an existing home in Auckland where you may need 20%.
Yeah.
Anything that is relatively remote to Auckland CBD, and we liked the fact that at the moment we live walking distance. Obviously, being able to have a really short commute was pretty key for us, and so obviously a new build was able to get in with a 10% deposit and a new low maintenance home that's not going to require a lot of our energy on the weekends.
Yeah, nice. I can relate to that, definitely. Yeah. How was the lending approval process? Was that easy?
No, not at all. Particularly given, the challenge for myself is obviously there is that perception of shareholder income source, right? So obviously, building Kernel also means that the bank have a few more hurdles to understand the fact that effectively kind of self-employed. So for anybody who's a self-employed or a contractor knows that unlike probably a standard salary role, there are a number of extra hoops or challenges when it comes to lending from a bank. So we did have to go through a mortgage broker and manage to sort of get our way around that. But yeah, as soon as you step outside of a standard salary, there are more hoops to jump through.
Is it just that there's more like risk associated with that?
Yes, the banks definitely look at it from like a risk and understanding about what the obligations are. Like we're quite different to a standard sort of self-employed business. It very much is much closer to a salary than many other startup businesses, right?
Yeah.
But if you are self-employed or a contractor or you've got a tradie business, for example, the bank factors in that extra risk around the certainty of your income versus, hey, a salary at a big corporate. But,
Yeah.
Whether that's right, I question. You look, there are a lot of people who've worked in lovely, what were perceived as strong government departments that no longer have an income, right?
Yeah.
So, but it is the nature of the fact that, people just have a different risk assessment on from the bank's perspective.
Yeah, definitely. If anything, I would feel like they would advocate in your favor in some ways, and knowing that
This is a real frustration I have generally with the banks. It's like it's hard to judge risk from the outside and where we should be directing risk towards. It's why actually property is so favoured in New Zealand, is that the risk settings on lending to property versus lending to a business. It's much better for a bank to lend against property than it is to businesses, which isn't actually great overall for our productivity and job growth.
Yeah, interesting. So anything else that's happened? Any sort of health insurance things?
No, so this is an interesting one though, right? So obviously previously we haven't really been big on needing the insurance, and that was sort of as covered off, like insurance is relevant for a few things. We obviously get medical cover through Kernel, which is fantastic. The broader insurance, like income, sort of life insurance, etc., just wasn't a priority, just given the nature of our age. We don't have dependents. We don't have any debt at the time, right? So we're a fairly low risk, so it wasn't seen as kind of a top priority for us. But now, as we prepare to move home, definitely now all of a sudden that changed the game. So it is literally on the to-do list over the next few months is to review all the insurance that we need, health insurance, life insurance, just to make sure, because obviously now if something happened to either of us, there is a big pot of money that we owe a bank that needs to be maintained, and there is just greater risk, right? So as the risk has changed now, we need to make sure that we've got everything in place to look after that.
Yeah, nice. Did you want to share about the mole thing?
That was a good example of where medical cover came in, right? Like I am very much a proactive person when it comes to medical care anyway. So I've always been a big advocate, particularly in men's health, of going to a doctor, not letting things nag, right?
Yeah.
We tend to just ignore them and she'll be right. And so, medical cover and can be really beneficial. So we have that through Kernel, and, I had a brand new mole that popped up on my finger. It was one of those things of like, I actually looked at it for a week, thought I'd scratched myself. This was looking unusual. Went to the doctor. They were a bit like, it looks funny. Literally took it out then and there, sent it off for a testing, cost me nothing.
It's amazing.
And this is a good example of like, if I didn't have that cover, it would have probably cost $500-$600.
For the initial appointment. And then
to do the appointment and to take it out. But then there would have been a few other costs. It would have cost a few $100. And you can see why, was it critical to do it? Maybe. For other people would have gone, maybe, we'll just hold off because I just can't really afford $500-$700 for a test or a checkup, right? But the peace of mind was incredibly valuable in that, hey, could have it taken out. Or nothing came of it, which is great. So it's good to know, so you can rest easy at night.
Relax, yeah. I mean, I definitely am on the other end of the spectrum where I'm like, how do I get to optimal health, not just like reactionary, like what do I need to scale this up?
And that's a hard balance. I try some of that, but gym consistency.
Hey, you're going to the gym now, which is great.
It is, back into that a bit, but the consistency is still a bit of a challenge.
That all or nothing mindset can also relate. So, I mean, you talked about, you've obviously got the house, and then any other kind of financial goals? I mean, grow Kernel.
For both of us at the moment, house is kind of looking forward to just moving in and settling into that, and then striking that balance between paying down the mortgage but still also being able to have a lifestyle. So we're not going to be overly zealous on just trying to be 100% focused on that's where every spare dollar goes to. We're still at that age where we want to be able to take some holidays, and if anything, hopefully have a bigger opportunity to do that. We've spent so much time over the last couple of years just really, both of us with respective careers and with Kernel, working quite hard. And so ideally in the next year or two, we'll be able to take a couple of longer holidays rather than just a week here and there.
Have a well-deserved break. Where are you going to go? What's the on the dream list?
We still have a Japan holiday that we had booked pre-COVID that got cancelled with COVID. And obviously it's a few years ago and have never been. So it's...
number one.
That's been the number one of trying to get up there. And so ideally we can take 2 or 3 weeks off. And I was looking at
That's not even that long, dude. 2 to 3 weeks.
It's a
We
good
need
holiday.
like at least a month.
It's a good holiday for both of us. Like going beyond a week would be a pretty big deal at the moment.
I guess that's the life of a founder business owner as well.
Yeah, but a couple of weeks will be fantastic. And the nice thing about something like Japan, 2 weeks, but over 2 weeks, is it's similar to the time zone, not that far. Like if we were going to Europe and having to spend a whole day traveling both ways, you definitely want to take a longer journey.
Yeah, definitely. Were you on the winter or summer?
We were looking so more like October, November, but then apparently it's quite good up there in November. But then also there's the cherry blossoms.
Yeah.
So I think around April-ish, end of March, April, which would be really interesting to go to, but probably won't work next year.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and new financial year at that time. Yeah, I love it. Well, that's a perfect segue over to Kernel, new financial year. I mean, for those listening who may not have heard about Kernel, because we haven't really spoken about what Kernel does, can you give us an elevator pitch, 30 seconds?
Perfect. So we are an online wealth platform that offers investing, savings, and retirement funds, basically, covering all the key needs for everyday Kiwis to build and manage their wealth. We've got a range of index funds and saving solutions. So for a lot of our customers, the tens of thousands of customers that we have, they are all trying to build long-term wealth and set up for their retirement, set up for their kids. And so we've been focused on building a really good digital experience and range of investment solutions that give people the ability to align their investments and to automate it and, ultimately go out and live their life while their money's working harder for them.
Yeah, nice. And why did you start Kernel in the first place? It's a while ago now.
It is 5 years. So 5 years
this week on Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly.
Exciting.
So I used to work, I've been working in financial services for a long period of time and worked at the stock exchange and had been running ETF funds in New Zealand. And ultimately, we just had a really strong view around how technologies was going to change the game for helping Kiwis directly interact and manage their wealth. Mm-hmm. So for us, it was we could build smarter, more efficient investment solutions and a better investing experience with modern technology. Anybody who's dealt with financial services, their banks, etc., know that often it's really clunky. Paper-based. And so we started from scratch and said, okay, how do we design this from the ground up? We went about getting a fund manager license on day one. And so we've had that, and then we've been building out the platform. And so we've just been incrementally building out the overall offering, and really last sort of 18 months is hitting the strides for us. And so that was kind of the genesis for it. And I think we're having a really big impact now in the market, just the growth that we're seeing. And the big piece is that if you look at the average Kiwi out there today, us sitting around here, very reflective of our clients, right? And the people who like and really love what Kernel does is we don't have a relationship with our bank anymore. And anytime we have to engage them, it's typically not on a positive front. It's some sort of demand or frustration.
Yeah.
For a lot of us, we don't have the sort of wealth that enables us to go and access a financial advisor, right? A lot of financial advisors or brokers only want to deal with people with $1 million plus. And investment property is just getting really hard, and we've got busier lives. So for us, it was about trying to solve that problem and going, hey, there are families and Kiwis out there who have got spare cash that they want to put to work. They're really conscious of their retirement. They want to set up their family for the future. How do they go about building that wealth and managing that wealth in a really efficient manner? And so that was a big focus for us. And so that's what we really hone in on. And I think we deliver a fantastic experience for Kiwis that just want to have some choice and control, but then can carry on with their life knowing that, hey, everything is taken care of. I've got things working for me and can enjoy the weekends.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I love that. Key point. And so I guess over the course of starting Kernel and then growing it, like you said, we are kind of at this point where it's like the exponential growth, which is very exciting to see, given all the grind that's gone into it, relentless. It's so nice. What has been the hardest thing about starting Kernel today, or the biggest challenge that you have personally potentially overcome through?
It's a big thing to build. If you think about everything we do, we're running these index funds effectively, for people that may be more familiar with index funds, we're kind of like the vanguard of New Zealand, right? We've got 23 investment options. And what people may not appreciate is that it's our team here in Auckland that is running everything. We're not offshoring it like a bank. we are in-house running these index funds by Kiwis for Kiwis. And so we do everything here, as a local team, locally owned. And I think we're quite excited about the fact that not only are we building the investment solutions, but our team also builds the platform. We run the KiwiSaver.
Yeah.
So we're a pretty lean, mean team, as you'll know. We do it a lot, given our size. And I think it's hard. You're pushing along, and you're building that momentum, and it does take time. Like things in financial services, we know takes time, because ultimately there's a lot of trust that you need to build with your customers and in the market. And I think we're really been at that inflection point over the last couple of years. And so now the hard graft of the work that's gone into building all the infrastructure, a lot of the stuff behind the scenes that people don't really see, right? It's building up everything that goes on behind that enables us to really build now. And I think, we're looking forward to 2025, because I think the investments that we've made in terms of the team and the systems and our strategy is setting up for a pretty exciting 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think the pace of how we deliver things to market and the continual enhancements that people are going to see will be pretty exciting. And so a lot of hard graft, really seeing the rewards now, though, of the investment and infrastructure that we've made.
Yeah, nice. And it is really that, we said this earlier, the all or nothing versus sustainable growth, and the small compounding actions over time, can be the hardest thing, but also the most rewarding as well, as you see it uplift.
And when you make so much investment behind the scenes, it's, it takes time, because there's a lot of, pre-work that goes into building all of this. And you don't see that instant payoff, right? It's not like you're putting flashy things out there to the world that you see instant reward from.
Yeah.
There is months of work that goes on that, will take time before we see that sort of come to life. And so it's keeping that energy up when you're kind of grafting away behind the scenes is the key challenge.
I'm always amazed at how you manage to keep what you're working on so secret in terms of you're working on it for 6 months or whatever. And then I'm like, how do you not want to tell everyone?
There's a lot of, and there's a lot of always just making sure, how do you, if you think about the world, right, things are changing really quickly. Think about AI. These are things that are really everybody started talking about in the last 12 months. And so you're trying to juggle that really long-term vision and purpose. So we know exactly what we're about, where we want to be, what we're trying to achieve over the decades ahead. And that's really clear, and making sure that we keep executing towards that, innovating on our pathway to deliver a really compelling solution for the market. But we have to take customers' feedback. We have to make sure that we're keeping up with the pace of change in the market. So feedback from our customers is really important, keeping aligned on that. But we know that there are a lot of Kiwis out there who are yet to start their Kernel experience. And so I think that's just as exciting to know that the things that we're building and the feedback that we're getting is going to lead to a really great experience. And so, there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that we keep putting together that will slowly over time
come together,
all start to reveal a big picture.
Yeah, nice. I guess in the context of Kernel then, how have you adapted to market changes?
Yeah, so we started with the underlying purpose of always trying to deliver value for our customers, right? So from day one, I guess a general principle that we live by is doing things that are aligned to our customer interests that create long-term value. So we built some New Zealand index funds, and then we, for example, it was 10 months later that we launched international index funds. And when we launched international index funds, whether the everyday Kiwi really understood it or not, we wanted to solve for a lot of the challenges or frustrations I saw in the industry, which was things like people were taking the easy route to build index funds or investment solutions for Kiwis that had a lot of hidden cost, particularly around tax. And nobody likes to talk tax, but I just knew that the way people were doing things was because it was the easiest route and they could just sell something to a client rather than going, actually, how do we deliver the best long-term solution for customers? And so we've always been really focused on tackling a problem with a view of how do we make sure it's really optimized for the long term of our customers. And the way we've designed the funds, the way we've incrementally built out the platform, that's kind of our value, right? And we keep doing that. And so we look at the market and we know where do we want to expand and how do people manage their money and what do they need to help manage their money and make it really easy. And then we try and find the best way to deliver that aligns with our values for the long term.
Yeah, nice. And there are some key things also, rising and decreasing interest rates that drive certain product developments as well. And we've seen that through the launch of the fixed interest fund range.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else, I guess, that has fed into Kernel kind of evolving in the way that it has, or where it's going potentially?
Yeah. So fixed income is the bond funds are a good example. Like we have such a broad spectrum of customers, right? And so everybody has their own unique goals and needs, whether they've got some short-term savings goals, so therefore they need to think a bit more conservatively because they want to buy their house soon, or they're hitting retirement. Those that want to build passive income so they can travel the world, right? There is a broad spectrum, and everybody has unique investment goals. So for us, it's about making sure that we give people that flexibility and choice so that they can align how they build and manage their money with their particular needs. And so, we've done that from the investment fund range, but then we've expanded on from just having funds to, things like the Smart Saver online savings accounts. So we are always looking at what are the things that people need so that we can become that really central point where they can effectively manage everything for all of those different life stages that they're going to have today or over the next couple of decades that they spend with Kernel. And so, we continue to look at that and hear feedback and understand what people do in the market and go, okay, we can create value there. We can make that really seamless for our customers to have that one platform that they can have a whole view of their wealth, including being able to set up their kids or they've got a trust. We literally have people committing their entire sort of household savings plan through Kernel. So we'll keep working on that problem.
Nice, love it. And so most rewarding thing so far, what would you say for you personally, through the growth of Kernel has been the highlight?
A big milestone was we passed $1 billion under management. So $1 billion of Kiwi money that is trusted and invested through Kernel. Yeah. Which is now rapidly being gone. And
feels like ages ago now.
Yeah, and it was. But that was, it's quite a major milestone, right? We're now one of the fastest growing investment providers in the market. That's a pretty significant number, and the growth that we're seeing. So, I think the way that our team has grown this year and executed, and we've literally had sort of record after record in terms of the growth that we're seeing with customers and that's the rewarding piece now. There's been a lot of hard work, particularly in the last 6 months, and to hit that milestone and see the momentum building, that's the exciting.
Yeah, nice. And so I think when I think about what is the listener or the person that's listening, what does that mean to them? So I think in maybe the financial services industry, $1 billion is a big thing. And if there's advisors listening, they're also yes, Kernel's at scale now. Yeah. For the everyday person, what does $1 billion mean?
So it's a lot of zeros.
A lot of money.
What it means is that, exactly to your point, to deliver what we want to deliver to the market and to continue to invest in Kernel, our innovation, our platform, the range of investment solutions we offer, we need to be growing. And I think it shows that there is that growth. There is that significant growth, and we've got the scale needed now to be able to make a really big impact. And so, we look at this and I go, right, what we've achieved in 5 years, but the next 5 years is going to be a multiple of what we've done in the last 5 years. And so, I think what it gives is that real demonstration of trust that we are now a really disruptive player. And so that the more Kiwis get in behind and back us, the more innovation we can deliver to the market, the more value we can create for them, and the more impact we can have. And, I think, if you are passionate about building your wealth and money, Kernel is a great place to be aligned, where we are an entirely Kiwi business. We're running it here. We are building better solutions for you and tomorrow. And so, I think that milestone is a reflection of the work that we've put in, and it gives us a platform to build onto in the market tomorrow.
Yeah, nice. And so I guess to contrast that a little bit, growth can be, obviously amazing and it is really exciting, but how do you balance that also? Because there's a lot of benefit to staying nimble and the ability to launch new things. And so how do you take that into this next phase of growth?
As a business? And so I think, one of the key here is we still don't want to stretch ourselves too far, right? We're still, in the context of financial services, we're still a young company. Yeah. And we've got a very long-term vision about what we want to do and the impact we'll have in this market and beyond. And so for us, it's still continuing to execute and making sure that momentum remains. And I think what's really heartening is we've seen 5 years. I don't know, I reflect on this and go, if you think about 5 years, we launched Kernel like 6 months-ish before COVID.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of New Zealand index funds, right? And so we've seen COVID, we've seen rising interest rates, we've seen inflation, we've seen declining interest rates, we've seen recessions in 5 years. So there's actually been a lot, which I think's been really healthy for us to show that it gives us a lot of insight over quite a mix of 5 years to understand how people behave, how we can plan to grow as a business, what we should be prepared for, and we will look to just incrementally continue to grow our team and investment in the overall platform.
I feel like it's also kudos to Kernel and the team in that weathering the storm, because it's like a whole economic cycle times 3, it feels like.
It does, right? And like there has been also there's been wars in Europe and all these things, right? Yeah. So, and all of these things have a ripple effect in terms of what's going on in financial markets and your KiwiSaver and how people spend their money and all of these dynamics at play. And it gives us a lot of great insight to make sure that we can continue to help people understand. I actually think that probably the biggest reflection on that is, despite all of these things, most of the Kernel customers we have, like by far the vast majority, and hopefully that's down to the design of the platform and the products and the way we communicate and the content that we put out, we've just really seen pretty consistent behavior by our customers. Most of them are setting up an automated investment plan. Most keep, we look at it and go, despite all of these things, most of our customers have remained committed to their long-term goals. They are setting up goals on the platform. They're setting up automated investment plans. So I think it really reinforces sort of our vision that there are a lot of Kiwis out there who are wanting to do more. And we're enabling that, and we're keeping them on course, and we're helping them control their behaviors, which is the biggest thing that impacts our financial well-being is letting emotions and behavior take charge, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's been quite rewarding to see that the work that we've put into designing everything has demonstrated through all of these various events pretty consistent behaviors. And so how do we keep compounding that and help more Kiwis through that? Because while there are ups and downs, there are equally as much opportunities as there are challenges.
Yeah, nice. I feel like there's a lot of good sound bites in here, but we'll have to dig into them all separately at another day. So I guess to round out, I'm really keen to understand just what drives you, like outside of, what you've talked about in terms of delivering great outcomes to Kiwis. What is the thing that deep down in those moments where you're like, oh my goodness, this is so hard, that gets you up again?
Even when I was working at a corporate, there was always just the driver for always was seeing things grow. And it's hard to articulate, but when I worked at the exchange, every role that I've had has had some sort of responsibility for trying to drive growth. And I guess I find it personally rewarding being able to build stuff. It just happens to be in financial services, right? Yeah. But for me, it's about being able to design and build and make something grow and seeing the impact that you can have. And, that's what I think is exciting with Kernel, because I look at this and go, we are literally a fraction of this industry. But in 10 years' time, we could be a significant disruptor to it in terms of the way I think technology is going to change the expectations of customers, how poorly many of the incumbents treat their customers and build solutions. So the underlying driver for me is just that excitement that comes from being able to build something and see it grow and come to life and the impact it has.
Finance is kind of the perfect thing for that then, right? Yeah. Because you're growing the business, but then you're also the underlying assets hopefully grow over time.
And if you look at our impact, we've done a lot of those studies, right? And we've been on the road recently talking to a lot of workplaces, and we've been talking about the fees that are going to be paid. I've estimated that there's about $15 billion that's going to be paid in KiwiSaver fees over the next decade.
Yeah, wow.
If we can get 10% of Kiwis to shift to a lower cost, higher value solution such as Kernel, and that potentially will save $1 billion in fees. And hey, at the same time, Morningstar and other reports showing that we're actually delivering, top tier results with low fees. We're really aligned. And so, I think, while we sort of are literally a fraction of 1% at the moment of the space, if we can just build to be 5% of that market, we will be having a significant impact to the benefit of all New Zealand.
Yeah, nice. So what is next? What's coming up? Can we have any, you heard it here first?
If you're not a customer, then at the very least you want to be on our mailing list, right? Because that is where, you'll get the latest insights, and we'll share, everything first to our customers. And for those that are on the special list, you can have signed up to our beta list, where we also have people testing new features and solutions. So
we'll also put a link to the beta list in the show notes and the subscriber list, because we love that as marketers as well.
Well, it's definitely where we keep everybody up to date as soon as possible as we build new features. We've obviously been able to do things recently such as reduce deposit times, and we have got some really great function around our smart savings account, which is still paying 5.25% at the moment, which is fantastic, right? So being able to
subject to change.
Subject to change, but at the moment,
T's apply.
The banking solution that we've got in place is fantastic to help Kiwis save as well. So that's exciting.
Nice. Great. Now, 2 quick fire ones. What is your ultimate goal? Is it retiring at 40? What's the plan here? Is there a plan?
The thing, 40 scarily is no longer that far away.
Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know.
No, I talk a lot about this with the people associated with the Kernel as a business and where we want to go. No, for me, still young.
Not yet
and
40.
Very much long-term view about what we can do. I'd love to be able to take Kernel overseas into other markets at some point. I think we build some fantastic solutions here.
Yeah.
But that is very much a long-term goal, to export financial services, given every country has different regulatory challenges, is a really big ask. But, that's something to aspire to, right? To take Kernel to the globe. So We'll keep chipping away.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. If you were ever to cash out a Kernel, let's say that you sold your shareholding, what would be your big first purchase and why? And can I guess it first?
You're welcome to have a guess.
Okay, I reckon you're going to buy a farm. Because you've
I do like that. I do have family that farm, and the nice thing about family that farm is a bit like having friends who own a boat. Is you get the benefit of being able to enjoy it without all the responsibility. Boat is a good example. I enjoy going out on a boat every now and then, but I have no interest in wanting to own it.
So maybe not a farm then.
Not only does it seem like a money pit, but also it's a lot of maintenance. Outside of maybe looking at upgrading a home at some point, bluntly, the first thing probably will be, it would be something like travel. Like travel of being able to take more than 2 weeks off and actually go and spend some time checking out the different parts. Because that is ultimately the biggest sacrifice we're making at the moment is, not going out and seeing different parts of the world. And I want to strike that balance, and that's always something you're really conscious of. And so I think going forward, we're increasingly going to be able to take slightly longer holidays, but
nice.
I suspect the first thing would be a really nice trip.
Nice. And an actual holiday.
Yeah,
no working on the holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. Really enjoyed chatting with you. For those of you who'd like to find out more, connect with Dean, you can actually follow him on LinkedIn. Just search up Dean Anderson, or slide into our DMs at It's No Secret. We can pass any questions on. Dean will actually also be coming on for another episode very soon to fill in for Kat, because she's over in Europe holidaying. So lots of insights to come from Dean. Otherwise, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.